Hello YouTube, Flowcat here, and today I'm going to do the unthinkable. I'm going to do the thing that every Genshin Impact YouTuber does, and I'm going to make a tier list. Oh yes, I'm gonna make a tier list, but it's not gonna be your usual tier list, no. Anyone that knows me knows that I like to use off-meta teams and do things my own way. I like to pave my own road, so to speak. So, this video is going to be a tier list based on my preferences alone. I'm not going to use meta. It's going to be me talking about every unit that is currently available in Genshin Impact and what I think about them. So yeah, let's get into that. This is going to take a while, okay? So, as you can see, here's the tier list. We are here, and it is here, and it is a list. At the very top category, we have oh yes. Then we have I use them a lot, and then we have sometimes I use them, and then I don't like, and then little to no opinion. It's either yay or nay with some gray area tossed in there. I know you can't see all the pictures down here, but they're there. I'm not going to use unreleased units yet. I will be getting to every single unit, so no worries there. I know you can't see them all down here, but they are all here. I will not be covering the 3.1 units because they're not out yet, so they would, you know, fall into this bottom category. Here, let's go ahead and try this out. So this bottom category is for units that I do not have, or I have not tried, or I have seen no video about. Like, I have no opinion. Okay? So these guys right here, they really don't exist to me yet. So with no further ado, let's get into this. It's gonna take a while. Buckle up, and I hope that this is entertaining to you. Let's go with Traveler. I will put them here in the sometimes I use them category because, like, when we first got to Inazuma and Electro Traveler first came out, I used Electro Traveler until Raiden came out, and then, you know, Raiden kind of took over that job. But with Dendro Traveler being out, I haven't even built my Dendro Traveler yet, but I do know that Dendro Traveler is very good. Dendro application and whatnot is wonderful. And yeah, like, so it's good to see Traveler have some good uses, and I probably will be building my Dendro Traveler. I just haven't had time yet. Albedo. I will put him in the oh yes category because I really like his kit. It's very simple to use and effective, and he requires minimal attention, I guess. You can put him in a lot of teams, and he adds benefit in almost every team. He has the Elemental Mastery buff that he can give your team. He provides consistent off-field damage, and he can also provide a little bit of shielding with the crystallized shields, even though we all know that they're not the strongest. Still nice. And yeah, I really like Albedo. I think he's a great unit if you're going for Geo Resonance in any team. Albedo is a great second Geo unit to put in for your Geo Resonance. And onward, we have Amber. Yes, Amber I'm putting in the I use them a lot category because I use Amber a lot. I like to put Elegy on her and use her on the Noblesse set so that she can be like an attack buffer plus a taunter. You know, like her Baron Bunny will taunt for a long time. She can do, you know, sporadic pyro application. So those teams where you need pyro application, but you don't want to have like pyro application all the time, she's a little bit better for those situations because she's more selective about when you apply pyro. So yeah, I know it's crazy that I'm putting Amber not in the bottom tier of a tier list, but I think she's a good unit. I genuinely enjoy using Amber. If I had a single complaint about Amber, it would be that her Baron Bunny explosion radius is slightly too small. Next, we have Ayaka, and I'm gonna put her in the I don't like category. Not because I don't like her character. I do like her character. I think that she's well written. I do think that she's a cool character. Cool character, you get it? Anyway, it's more or less just that I don't use her very often, and I'm not a big fan of her burst-centric playstyle. I don't think auto attack Ayaka feels very satisfying to play, and I think that her burst isn't necessarily my favorite thing. So, although she's very strong, I just am not the biggest fan of using her. And Barbara, we're gonna put her down here. I am a big fan of healers, but literally just the fact that she applies Hydro to you all the time. I know that maybe now there could be some niche example of like if we get a unit that applies Dendro to you, maybe you can bloom off of yourself or something. I don't know, but I'm just not a big fan of using Barbara. Never really enjoyed using her in my team comps. I feel like she makes your reactions really messy, and that's just like a no-go for me. You'll see this with a couple other characters. They just make reactions really messy, and I have a hard time using characters like that. Beto, we're putting her up here in the oh yes category because super cool parry. I love her parry. She was my first main. I have her triple crown, but I love her kit. I think that her kit is a really fun balance between defensive and aggressive. In a game where we don't really have tanks, putting a character like Beto on your team can be really nice for blocking huge attacks, or like, you know, instead of getting knocked around, you can just stand there right next to a big enemy and be like, try me, pal. I'll show you who's who. I like her a lot. Her burst is very strong. Beto is great. Next up, we have Benny Boy, and he's going here, shockingly, into the I don't like category. Why? Why, may you ask? Well, it's just because I don't like using Benny. Again, it comes down to the whole like messy elemental application thing. The fact that he applies pyro to you and enemies, and it gets really messy, and I'm just not a big fan of it. Also, I've never really felt like I needed an attack buffer that badly. I mean, there have been instances where I've used him before, but overall, I find his playstyle kind of frustrating. I don't enjoy that basically the best part of his kit is locked behind that burst, and his skill, it's just not satisfying to use. I'm sorry. We're gonna put Chongyun in the I use them a lot category because I use Chongyun a lot. I really like his C2 because cooldown reduction is one of those things that we have very little of in this game. And so the fact that he has that in his kit alone is pretty awesome to me in general. But also the fact that he enables a lot of freeze teams, and his burst being 40 cost on a 12-second cooldown, it's just really nice. You can do consistent bursts every rotation, sometimes even multiple bursts in a rotation. If you've got a team that can generate a lot of energy, that's really cool. I like him a lot. I think he's a great character. I think he's very undervalued. I know that he doesn't fit into any comp. Like, he's not the most flexible unit for team building, but if you're into freeze teams, I'm sure that Chongyun has a lot to bring to the table. All right, next up we have D-Luke. D-Luke is gonna go into this bottom category because I am currently working on getting a Crimson Witch set for him, but I do not have one yet because I don't really want to like give an opinion about his kit. He is a DPS, and I feel like, you know, like I've tried him out level 20 against some hilly churls, or like level 80 with no artifacts. You know, like I've tried him out a couple times, and I've used him a couple times, and I've watched videos about him, but just having a lack of experience with him in general, I don't want to say much about D-Luke until I'm able to have more time testing him personally. Next we have Diona. She's going here in this category, the I use them a lot category, because especially in the beginning of the game, I used her a ton since I wasn't a fan of Barbara. She was like the healer that I got, healer shielder combo, you know, that really worked out for me. I think she has a very strong kit. Her C6 is very strong. She can use Elegy to stack on with her C6 and give you over 300 elemental mastery. It's just wonderful. She's a great unit. I think that she's gonna have a lot of use for a long time, and it's thumbs up, you know, kind of thing. So great. Fischl, I'm gonna put her here in the sometimes I use them category because I really like Fischl. She's very strong. She's a great unit. I just don't always enjoy using her in my team building. I don't know. I think she's a great unit. Again, nothing against her personally. I just don't use her a lot. I use her sometimes. And so she would go into this category right here. And then we're going to go next into the Coco Goat, Ganyu. I sometimes use her. She was my first limited 5-star, and I used her for a long time to help carry me through content, you know, that kind of stuff, being my first limited 5-star. And we all know Ganyu is just wonderful, especially like that domain with slowing waters. Yes, she's great. I sometimes use her even to this day, but I don't really use her all that much anymore. I may come back to using her more in the future in a more supportive role, but I just don't enjoy her DPS playstyle. I enjoy like the recent archers that came out, Yelan, Tignari. I think that they are wonderful and have a more engaging playstyle as an archer, but you know, Ganyu is kind of like the OG archer carry in Genshin, so yippee-ki-yay. All right, next time we have Hutow. The funny thing about Hutow is that right now I would put her in this category, but she used to be in this category. Like kind of similar to Ganyu. I used to use my Hutow a lot. I just kind of got bored of her playstyle. It was really fun at first, but it's very repetitive. And I feel like over the course of time, I got bored of playing her as a hyper carry. And the thing about Hutow is that like, if you're not using her as a hyper carry, she really doesn't fit into many teams. It's not like Ganyu where she, you know, like Ganyu has good cryo application. She has a taunt. So like there are some reasons to bring Ganyu to like a different team, but Hutow is like a traditional, you know, she really is a hyper carry. She's a main DPS. She doesn't have much else she can do for your team. Jean, we're gonna put Jean in the oh yes category because Jean is a wonderful unit to have. She was my first 5-star ever. I lost 50-50 on Ganyu's banner, got Jean, ended up getting Ganyu later. But Jean is a wonderful healer. She can use the Viridescent Venomer set for shredding resistances. She can yeet enemies, which is very satisfying. She can crowd control. She just, you know, she's got a little bit of everything and she's got burst damage. So it's just great. And she is actually functionally my favorite healer in the game, especially if you're early game, because all you do is hit her burst button and boom, you're healed. I've used Jean a lot in my Genshin career, and she has saved me from dying many times. Kaya, burst dependent playstyle. I'm sorry to say this. I just don't like using Kaya in my teams. I've never really enjoyed using him. Maybe one day I will build him up and really give him a go and really try him out and give him the fair shake. It's kind of like Ayaka, you know, and Benny. Like this burst dependent playstyle doesn't really appeal to me very much. I don't find his skill very satisfying, and you know, I never really needed him as like a main carry, like a physical DPS or anything. So there he is. Nothing against, I think he's a cool character. Nothing against you people, nothing against anyone that really likes Kaya, you know. Again, this is like not about meta. This is about, or like anything. This is just my personal opinion. So yeah. Catching, let's just say I sometimes use her. I just don't really like, this is gonna come up probably more often than I would like in this tier list because I don't have the resources to build everyone. I haven't really been able to build her very much. I have at times tried her out with different sets on different teams, and I do really enjoy using her in those teams. I think she's one of the more fun characters to play in Genshin Impact. She has an engaging play style. Her burst animation never gets old. And yeah, I mean, she's cool. She's a really cool character. I just don't fit her in a lot of teams right now. Maybe in the future, especially with these new Dendro characters, we can push her up here. But for right now, she's sitting right there. All right, Clee. I did not have Clee for the longest time. I recently got her, and so I kind of want to put her in this sometimes I use them category. But I've already found a couple teams that I really enjoy using Clee in. So yeah, I mean, like, I think she's a great unit. I think she's great for pyro application. I think that her little bombs she leaves on the field are great for like if you have a Kazuha, you know, you want to suck them up and just plunge and do a bunch of pyro damage. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to say about her. I really haven't used her that much, but I just, over the course of using her for this short amount of time, great. And I just actually got my first Crimson Witch set on her like last night and did some like, you know, basic damage testing, and so now she actually does real damage instead of just applying pyro, and it's great. Lisa, we're gonna put her into this I don't like category. Actually, out of burst dependent characters, she's one of the ones that I like more because I feel like her burst lasts a pretty decent amount of time, has really good electro application, but I've just never really built her up or used her. I guess I just don't have much to say about that. I bet with Aggravate, she's smacking huge numbers with her skill, which is cool. And being able to apply a lot of electro is cool. Rosaria, I use her a lot. I think she's fantastic for off-field cryo application. I find her skill satisfying to use. It's useful for movement, repositioning on the battlefield. I also find that her C6 comes in quite clutch a lot. I think her C6 is really useful, especially when it comes to having physical teams where you want to buff the physical damage, but also with clam damage. We have the Ocean Hug clam set, and she does boost the damage of that with her C6, which makes her great for pairing with healers like Kokomi. Mona, we're gonna put her down here. Again, I'm just not a huge fan of burst dependent characters, and I've never really built her up very much, and yeah. I've used her a couple times, but not really often, and I just don't have much to say about her. Yeah, I kind of want to use Mona more in the future, so like maybe in the future I can move her up to this category, but for now I just haven't really invested a lot of resources into her or anything, so that's yeah. Ningguang, just not a big fan. Not a big fan. I really like when she summons her shield and it pops up and it does like a good chunk of geo damage. That's very satisfying, and her burst is kind of satisfying. It just feels like there's not enough to her kit. Like, I feel like she should have more supportive elements or have more DPS elements. I don't know. To me, I don't enjoy playing her. Although I do, understand she's a strong unit and great, but yeah, preferences and stuff. It's funny how that works. Noelle, I sometimes use her. I think she's a good unit. I've even used her in Hutow teams. One great thing about Noelle is that she's the kind of healer where you can like choose how much you want to heal. When you want to stop healing, you can just swap off Noelle or stop hitting the enemies and you'll stop healing. So if you need like Hutow to be under 50%, but she's almost dead, you can pop onto Noelle, do a little bit of healing, and then swap right off. Also, Noelle has a passive talent that lets her pop a shield on when your on-field character takes a certain amount of damage, goes below a certain HP threshold, which is great for Hutow because as a low HP character, if she gets swatted, then you don't need to swap off of her. You can stay on her and you'll get a nice little chunky shield and you can keep DPSing. Chi-Chi. She's kind of between these two categories. I have a team that I really like using Chi-Chi in as like a physical driver, but also a healer, that kind of thing. After the Ocean Hug clam set came out, I think physical driver Chi-Chi went through the roof, like kind of popped off, so to speak. And yeah, I think I'll put her right here. She's a great unit. She's cool. She's dodged me for an incredibly long time. I have C0 Chi-Chi. I the first time I saw her was on Zhao's first banner, and it's just been no Chi-Chi since then. All right, Razor. Do not like him. Burst dependent playstyle. He's a hyper carry, like he's a main DPS, so he doesn't have a lot of team building flexibility if you want to not use him as a main DPS. I just never really enjoyed using him. Big shout out to Razor mains, but yeah. Sucrose, sometimes I use her. I find her infusion really frustrating. Like, it's really hard to infuse her burst properly sometimes, and it's just almost inexplicable to me. Like, yeah, but she is a very strong unit. I think that she has good grouping. She can pump out a ton of swirl damage, and having access to swirl with auto attacks is really, really nifty. Next up, we have Child, which I haven't used in a long time, but I actually liked using him for freeze teams back in the day when we had almost no hydro unit. Like, C4 Child is a way to get consistent hydro application, and it works. If I don't know, his C4 is actually really fun. I know some people crap on it and they hate it because it makes vape teams harder, but it makes electrocharge and freeze teams a lot more fun with Child. Venti, not a big fan. Just burst dependent playstyle, and he's either amazing or kind of meh, and I don't like that. Like, I don't like that. To me, it feels like his usefulness varies so greatly depending on whether you're fighting like a boss or not. I'm not a big fan of Zhang Li. Again, it's messy with elemental reactions, burst dependent playstyle, and she makes your reactions really messy because she applies so much pyro that, like, sometimes it's just too much pyro. You know what I mean? Like, for real, sometimes I think Zhang Li is just too much pyro for the team comp. Zhao is one of my favorites out of the main DPSs, so I do enjoy Zhao a lot, but I haven't had him built recently, and it's just been a struggle with resources. So yeah, I haven't played him in a long time, but I do love his playstyle, and I like playing Zhao. He's one of my favorite hyper carries. Jingcho, I know, I'm going against the grain here. It's really crazy, but I don't like Xingqiu. I just don't enjoy his playstyle, burst dependent playstyle. I like to play quick swap teams, so I don't like to play a lot of teams where you're constantly auto attacking. Jinyon, I use her a lot. I'll put her in this category because I think that she has good shielding capabilities, strong physical damage output, and a really good amount of pyro application. She gets so much hate, it's unbelievable. I think she's good. I think she's a good unit. Like, I like using her in my teams. She doesn't fit in every team, but in the teams that she fits, she does a great job. Zhang Li. Sorry to say it, but I'm not a big fan of Zhang Li. I understand that he's very useful, but I just don't really enjoy using him that much. I don't find that I really need shielding all that often. Like, sometimes I do. Eula. I do enjoy her playstyle. I just haven't had the resources to get a good Pale Flame set for her, so that's literally the reason why I haven't used her in a long time. But yeah, she would go here. I did use Eula when she first came out, but then Kazuha was like coming up right after her, and I had to start farming for him, so I stopped farming for her. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of that. Yanfei, I'll put her here. I've used her a lot in the past, so like I have used her a lot, but I haven't used her a lot recently. Mostly just because I don't know. Sometimes I just use a unit a lot, and then I decide like maybe I've used them too much. You get a little bored, or you want to try something new, so you try something new, and that's kind of what happened to her. Kazuha, straight up to the top. I love Kazuha. He's one of my favorite. He is my favorite unit in the whole game. I just adore him. His kit is wonderful. Animo is best element. Yep, that's all I gotta say about that. He's the best. He's the best. Yoimiya. I'll put her here. Sometimes I use her. I do enjoy her kit. I just haven't used her in a while. It's kind of a resource problem. Haven't been able to devote a lot of resources to her. Sayu. Also sometimes use her. Don't always use her a lot. I'm glad to see that her infusion, like rolling around and stuff, is a lot more useful with Dendro. Like I've seen some like Hyper Bloom Sayu and stuff like that, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that's cool. I sometimes use her. I think she's a good healer. I think she can bring good value to the team. But personally, I just haven't had a lot of reason to bring her recently. Raiden Shogun, probably one of the only burst dependent characters that I really, really like, because her burst is cool and she can charge it a lot. I mean, I guess Jinyon is burst dependent. I like her. And Rosaria, but and Jean actually. Oh no, I'm breaking my own trend. Either way, she's cool. I like Raiden. Not as much as other people. Like, I don't have her C2, I have her at C0. I think at C0 she's fine. Sara, I use her a lot. She's my favorite attack buffer. Very fun character. Does really great personal damage. Good personality, great design. Kokomi, we're putting Kokomi up here. She was a queen when she came out, and she's still a queen, okay? She only gets better and better. Some of the best Hydro application in the game. Healing that you just can't stop. I can't die with her on my team. Let me just tell you that. And then the fact that she can take the field and either refresh her skill or do damage and heal your team more. It's wonderful. She has so much flexibility. I think Kokomi's great. Anyone that ever doubted her, shame on you. Aloy, we're just not going to talk about her. Toma, I don't really use him or like him very much. I just haven't really had many teams where I enjoy using him, but I could see myself building him in the future for like a Bersian team or something like that. I think he has really good potential for that. Next up is Ito. We're putting Ito up here. He's like the only hyper carry that I still use to this day. I find Ito incredibly satisfying to play. He's fun. His personality is great. Max Middleman is a legend. I really like Ito. He's such a good character in this game where there's a lot of serious characters. We need some comic relief from time to time. And he brings a whole lot of comic relief. But yeah, not only that, he's just so fun to play. His play style is just very satisfying. Goro, I use him with Ito, so I mean, kind of pair them together, you know what I mean? And then Shenha, I'm gonna put her up here. Fantastic attack buffer of damage in general, really fun sub DPS or burst DPS or whatever you want to say it. Her burst lasts forever, especially if you have the constellation that boosts her C2, I think it is, that boosts her duration for her burst. It lasts an eternity. She is like one of the best units for freeze teams, and freeze teams are my favorite, so there they are. Yunjin, sometimes I use her. I actually do think she's a great unit. I think that she brings a lot of value to the game as far as team building variations. Yunjin just allows you to do so many different team comps that normally wouldn't be possible. And I love that. I think that that's great. And she's also just a really cool option. Like if you want to do a double Geo team with using your supports as your double Geo and doing like a DPS of like a different kind. Like I've done some testing where you can use like Goro and Yunjin together. And then you can do like a minimal freeze comp where you have like Diona and Ayato, for instance, is what I would run. That was actually a really good comp. I'm doing Archaic Petra on my Goro, so I'm boosting Ayato with that. You know, it was a really solid team composition, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. You can use Geo Resonance just on like, you know, a normal character, like a Hydro character, and it's effective, it's fun. Yai Miko, I use her a lot. One of my favorite Electro applicators. She's a really cool character. Her burst is very satisfying. Not much else to say there. I really like her. I'm very glad she got buffed recently with the movement changes or whatever. She doesn't get stuck as often. All right, I am back. My fancy DSLR camera overheated, so it's dead. So we're gonna continue onward, but I'm using my webcam, which, you know, it's not as nice and as pretty, but it does the job. This is kind of tiring. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, you know, like once I explain what these categories are kind of about here, I feel like you sort of get the point, you know, and then you sort of understand my preferences, and then you sort of understand what I'm gonna say even before I say it. But I don't know, maybe this is useful or entertaining for you. If this is useful or entertaining for you, I'm looking at my old camera, then, you know, drop a like on this video, sub. I got a friendly community. We've got a Discord, we chat, we play Genshin. So now we have Ayato. I use him a lot as well. I think he's very fun, very easy to play, very satisfying. His voice actor is wonderful. Yelan, I'm gonna put her up here. I love archer characters, and she was the first archer character that was like really fast paced and just when I first saw her kit, took my breath away. I really enjoy playing her, bringing her on my teams. She brings a lot of value with her burst, or even just without her burst. So I don't know. I really think she deserves that top spot there as far as like preference. Kuki, I'm gonna put Kuki up here as well. Being an electro healer, our first electro healer, and as well as having such amazing electro application. I know a lot of people give her crap, but I've been using her a ton recently. So like, you know, maybe she could go over down in this category, but I kind of just feel like for the sake of everyone who doubted her, I'm putting her up here. Okay. Kale, I actually have very little opinion about her because I haven't built her myself, but I feel like I'm probably going to end up putting her in here. I really like her character from the manga and like, you know, her personality and stuff. I'll probably end up using her in team comps. A lot of Dendro team comps will find her to be pretty useful, but I just haven't really given her a lot of use or anything yet. I haven't put a lot of resources into her, so unfortunately I am gonna have to put her down here for now. And as well as Hazel, I don't even have Hazel. I've tested him out, I've tried him out, he's pretty good, but I don't have him personally, so I don't have that like in-depth experience with him to give you like my full opinion. Last but not least, Ignari, putting him right up there. Again, I like the more fast-paced archer action kind of, you know, like it's cool. His burst is so satisfying to use. And yeah, I would love to see him someday, like over the course of losing 50/50s. Very fun character, cool personality, quick swap friendly, 40 cost burst, 12-second cooldown, pew pew arrows go pew pew. All right, that's gonna bring us to the end of this video. If you stuck around through the whole thing, thank you very much. It was long, and I don't really know why I made this video anyway. Like, I don't really care that much about tier lists or meta or anything like that. Basically just showing you what units I use, what units I don't use, which units I like, which units I don't like, and giving you a brief explanation of like why, as to why. If you want more Genshin content, I make it, I release it, and it's here on YouTube. So you can subscribe, you can do that fun stuff. You can join my Discord. Yeah. And as always, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Peace.